What is going on, everybody? It's JT here with another episode of JT Invests in You. And this morning we are welcomed by a wonderful group of guests. We have the real Monty Allen and the real Lauren Wixom. I'm sure everyone in my audience already knows who they are. They are part of the infamous Crypto Nerd team and part of the newly launched Citrust team. So without further ado, how about we just jump right into it? Let's see. All right, we've got real Monty Allen and Lauren. Welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. It's really cool to see it from this side, right?
Yeah, I really appreciate having you on, honestly. I mean, we'll have to do it the reverse someday.
Yeah, we'd love to have you on our channel as well.
Awesome. Well, how about we just jump right into it, just in case there are a couple people in my audience. I'm sure like 90% of it overlaps between both of our audiences, but just in case there isn't some overlap, how about we start off with some introductions? If we could start with you, Monty, with tell my audience a little bit about yourself and your journey into the Algorand space and how you came to start Citrust.
Sure, absolutely. Well, I have been in crypto since 2017. I was caught up in, the hype that was, surrounding that time. A lot of ICOs, a lot of ETH, a lot of Binance trading. Found my first couple of projects there. Lost my first couple of $1,000s there. It was an interesting time. And then crypto winter. And then, about a year, maybe a year and a half ago, I found Algorand. And I'm an environmentalist already. It really kind of brought my attention. And I saw a project that was legitimate, had some rising stars, had the godfather of cryptocurrency, and really just kind of bought in. And then realized there wasn't a lot of news at the time. You weren't on the air. Obviously, I wasn't. There wasn't a lot of information out there. And so I really just wanted to get some information out there. And that's why I started my YouTube channel, to really just kind of get info. And then as it grew and grew, more projects came along. I realized, man, I can't keep up. I need help. And then people stepped up for help. And then I realized, wow, the next step of this is really just getting those people to, get rewarded for helping out and keeping the community engaged and up to date, and, getting good information or bad information, out at the same speed. And then that's where Citrus sort of rolled in. So there you have it in a nutshell. In about 90 seconds, that was my version.
Perfect. And how about you, Lauren?
Hey guys, so as you can see, my name's Lauren Wixom. I actually just got into the crypto space pretty recently. I have a light background in development, learning some JavaScript. I've done some stuff with NASA in the past, and I'm also a music artist, and I kind of just got into the space. I used to work for Facebook, and I was like, I don't like it here. So I asked a friend, I was like, hey, do you know anybody that, needs someone to do like marketing for them or something? And she's like, I know a guy. And so here we are. I'm with Monty now, and now I'm here with you guys. So my background's not as impressive as Monty's, but
I'd still say that's pretty impressive. I had no idea.
I think that's impressive.
Yeah, I had no idea you did a little bit of work with NASA. Before we jump into it, could you just elaborate what you did there?
Oh, so this was whenever I was in school. I was the only female out of a whole group of guys, and we actually had to build and launch a rocket. And so I got to do that, and I launched the rocket in Fredericksburg, Texas, with the NASA team. So it was really cool. It was a really cool experience.
That sounds awesome, honestly. I'm really jealous of that. So Citrust, a little bit about Citrust. I read that you came up with the idea at Decipher. Is that correct?
Yes, actually, you were probably very nearby, or, we might have been like even texting at the time.
Probably.
When we're really kind of pulling all this together. And, we had sort of a loose idea of, something we wanted to do for the community, by the community, sort of a way to give back and expand what we were doing. But it really gelled and started to come together while we were at Decipher. Lauren and I were talking yesterday about how at our Airbnb, where we filmed that session in the backyard, if you had walked in, if you used the restroom or something, had to walk through, you might have noticed on the wall there, it looked like Beautiful Mind. There were Post-it notes, there were things posted to the wall.
Like these big giant pieces of paper.
Yeah, that was us mind mapping Citrus at the time
It was
with,
like it was like the scene from Always Sunny with the Charlie in there, and he's got everything
yeah.
posted to the wall. Yeah,
There's like pieces of yarn, like linking things together, and
yeah,
yeah,
Yeah.
it was an experience. So that was our aha moment really at Decipher when we
Yeah.
decided, okay, we've got to do this for real.
of course.
Hmm.
So what is Citrus? What is the intention? What is the goal?
I could take this one, Lauren. So
Okay.
the Algorand system has good actors, it has bad actors. Unfortunately, it's just a mixed bag of folks, right? So we need a repository, not just of curated projects. We have that already. We've got Algo Curator. Algorand themselves recently is updating their list of projects, and they're really just going to categorize them. So we will also categorize them. So we'll have links or tags. So a project like Yieldly might be tagged under DeFi. Yieldly might be tagged under staking. There's going to be different categories. You click the tag, you get a whole list of projects that come up there. And then so JT says he logs in, connects your MyAlgo wallet or your Para wallet, and okay, it verifies you. Okay, you are indeed part of the ecosystem. Do you want to rate or review one of these projects? You say, yes, I want to rate and review Citrus. So you can go in and rate or review us. This project is awesome. Hopefully that's what what it says, right? And then people will have a chance to sort of upgrade your comment or downgrade your comment. And through all of that, we're looking to give a point value system to projects, and that's your Citrus value. So you can log in and say, okay, so the naming services. Naming services are hot right now. There's two out there. If you go in, you click the tag, and the two naming services come up. Maybe one has a much higher trust rating than another one. So we will see. The market will play out. But I think that people need a system in our ecosystem, the Algorand world, to see what other people's views are, rather than just kind of eyeballing Twitter and saying, okay, well, this personality that I know said this, and I see a list here, but how do I quantify that? And so Citrus will make that possible.
Right.
Perfect. Do you have anything to add to that, Lauren?
Scams.
Scams. Yeah, that
It's
is
so
a big
easy
one.
to be scammed. I have not yet fallen into a scammer's trap, and hopefully that never happens. But I do know, Citrus will definitely help kind of lower that by exposing, like Marnie said, like the good and the bad actors out there. So.
Yeah, that's my hope too. I mean, there are just so many scams out there, and it's so easy. It really just takes a couple minutes to launch a token on Algorand, and it really doesn't take too long to launch a website on Squarespace or something. Whip it up, make it look real nice.
Yep.
So yeah, the scams are very, very prevalent in the space, and I really do hope that whether it's Citrust or something else comes along, or a combination, because competition is great as well. I do hope that eventually we can clear up some of that issue. And I myself have never fallen for one of these scams yet, but I'm also a lot
Knock
more.
on wood.
Yeah, I feel like I'm a little bit more conservative than a lot of the Algorand community. I only hold like 2 ASAs outside of Algorand. So how would the rating system work? Because I like that concept. It sounds similar to sort of how like Reddit works, where you can upvote comments, and the ones that have the most upvotes are usually seen first by the community. How would a rating system work? Because my biggest concern is that you create this platform that's supposed to dissuade from scams and highlight good projects. But my main concern is that it could end up being some sort of, not like gatekeeping, but where it's like a hub that's picking winners and losers, if that makes any sense. Is there any way to ensure that doesn't happen?
This is actually a big concern internally for us as well. There's lots of things that could go wrong once you start diving into it. It all looked really pretty up on the wall at Decipher, but when you start diving into it, there's a whole host of problems. Another problem is, hey, what if a scam project comes on and they have a bunch of fake users? They seed a bunch of wallets, and they're small amounts, but they validate, and they go log in. That is very difficult. It happens currently on places like Yelp. It happens on a lot of places where there's review sites. So how do we effectively stop that from happening without blocking real users and without being that gatekeeper? I think that you're worried about. So number one, there's no limit to what projects can get added. We do want to have certain information available, though, to make sure that it is a real project. So to get added on there, you've got to have a certain core listing of information. You don't have to be totally doxed, but you do have to give some information on the project. You have to have a valid website. You got to have some information that's verifiable. In a lot of cases, we're really hoping that you're a legitimate business and you've incorporated somewhere your LLC or something along those lines as well. That really would help the trust factor. If you don't have all of that, your trust factor is going to go down significantly. So you can post there, but if you're not doxed, if you don't have a LinkedIn and all those things, however, your trust factor is not going to be nearly as high. Your first 5 posts are going to be moderated and monitored. So if you're abusive, or if you've got, if it looks spammy or scammy or non-relevant or something like that, we're going to monitor those before we kind of just allow you to just post free will. So we want to make sure that you're a real person, and so your first 5 posts are going to get monitored. After that, you get
also have value to add to the community, and not be a troll. And
exactly right, and there'll be some levels there. So once you've proven, hey, you know what, I'm a real person, I've got some valuable feedback, you'll be raised in like I don't know, kind of like a role, so that you can post a little more freely there. Combination of things there to really kind of help safeguard the community.
Yeah. So it sounds
from us, like we got to monitor us and our platform, to make sure that we're delivering on what we want to.
Of course. Right. So it sounds like, when projects decide to, not launch, for lack of a better word, on Citrust, that they're given a trust score based on the amount and type of information they give to you. So if they give, a whole bunch of transparency information, their whole team's doxed, maybe, as you said, they have an address for an LLC and stuff, they might begin with a higher trust score than others that don't give that much information. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
And is there a way for those trust scores to evolve over time through, how the community rates those projects?
Yes. So even if you're, let's say you're not doxed, but everybody loves you and your project is well trusted, your code is audited, everything is fantastic. You just have taken the business decision. Hey, we don't want to release who we are for whatever reason. Maybe it's a conflict of interest. Maybe it's I don't know. But if everybody loves you, your score is still going to rise. So you still have the opportunity to be recognized. It's not that you're not being doxed is going to be an automatic, downgrade for you forever, but it is sort of, it's an earmark, it's a warning sign for a lot of folks. And so we want to be mindful of that.
Perfect. Yeah, I really like that, honestly, because, I could see reasons why a project doesn't want to completely dox or release certain information, but I also would totally understand that the projects that do release all the information should likely be more trusted off the bat, but that doesn't necessarily mean the ones that don't are untrustworthy. So it is nice that there is a method in place for the community to, let their voices be heard and say, we still really love this project, even if it does have this one red flag.
Absolutely.
So I was reading a little bit that the Crypto Nerd token is the token that is used to reward people for information that they gather. Is that correct?
That's correct. Yes.
Yeah.
But the Crypto Nerd token is not controlled by Citrust. That's right?
Correct.
Right.
Could you dive a little bit? Could you dive a little bit into how that works?
I can. So
Awesome.
The crypto world is complicated, to say the least.
Very.
You can say that again.
Right? Releasing a token in the United States is very much a gray area. And whether or not it's considered a security, or whether or not it's there's a lot of gray area. We consulted a lot of folks and decided we would go the route that Algorand took. So even talking to the Algorand team, we adopted a model that is very similar to what they used. So they have the Algorand, the technology company, very near to you. They're out in Boston. We have Algorand Foundation, which controls all the tokenomics, all the tokens, and those activities, and that's based overseas. So we did something very similar. So Citrust is incorporated here in Texas. It's easy to find. That is essentially the technology company. And then we have Crypto Nerd. Technically, the legal name is KN Blockchain Industries. It is incorporated in the British Virgin Islands, so that it could control the tokenomics. Those are held overseas, and it can distribute bounties. So Crypto Nerd is going to partner with Citrus in order to distribute bounties for community engagement. And this actually is really interesting because now Crypto Nerd is not necessarily tied 100% to Citrus. So if another project comes along and says, hey, you know what? I want to have a bounty system in place. They can adopt Nerd. They can say, hey, we want to be nerds too. We're all part of this nerdy community. And Crypto Nerd can handle their bounty program as well. So there's some cool partnerships that are now in the the infancy that can come along so that more people can participate and be rewarded in the community that way too.
Mm-hmm.
Did I do an all right job of explaining that? It's fairly complicated.
You did a great job of explaining it, and it makes complete sense. I mean, it's on the one hand, it's kind of unfortunate that the regulations in the United States are so behind the times that you have all these companies going overseas to launch their product. Hopefully that changes in due time. But I do understand that the processes are in place because of all the scams that we see right now. But they are still very much so behind the 8 ball on that one. But that being said, how does the token come into play with the Citrus platform, and how was it originally distributed?
Well, how does it come into play? So once you make a post or a comment, or if you want to make a blog post, or
the more you engage in the community,
the more you engage, right? So the more you engage in the community, the more nerd token you will earn. And so, and we'll go in some of the tokenomics and the launching here. But the idea is, when we were at Decipher, we decided, hey, we want people to be rewarded for engaging, for giving tips, for protecting everybody, in the Algorand pool. So you'll get distributed nerd token. And then if I gave you this though, and it was worth nothing, then you wouldn't really be stoked about it. I was talking to Lauren yesterday. I was like, hey, well, what if I gave you this and it wasn't worth anything to you? Let's just say you hated lima beans, right? So Lauren hates lima beans. I just gave her a handful of lima beans. She'd be like, what the hell is this, Monty? I don't want these lima beans.
I don't want this.
It's either got to be something you can consume yourself or trade for something you consume. So if there was an exchange that said, yeah, I'll give you, two for every 2 lima beans you got, I'll give you 1 jelly bean. Then Lauren would be stoked because she likes jelly beans.
Heck
right?
Yeah, jelly beans are bomb.
I like jelly beans too. So if I could trade, or if I could exchange this item for something that I wanted, then that is important. So our goal is to get nerd out in the community, create a market for it, and then create partnerships so that you can use your nerd for other services, other products. So merch. we for merch, yes, all of those things. And so once you receive this, we want it to have some value. That is important.
Yeah, and speaking of partnerships, I mean, that's a perfect segue into your recent partnership with Yieldly. I mean, I know it was probably, 2 or 3 days ago now, I mean, maybe a couple more, that the Crypto Nerd token launched on Yieldly. I believe there's a staking and a liquidity pool. Is that correct? Or just a staking pool?
Yep.
Awesome.
Staking and liquidity. That actually started way back in December. We've been in communication with them since December. And, there's just so much going on, right? Decipher was in... Decipher was in November, right? So a month later, we were making progress and decided, okay, who do we want to work with? And Yieldly's name was first and foremost. We had worked with them a lot. I had covered them, obviously, in the ecosystem since they launched.
Of course.
I was very critical of them when they first came out, actually. I wasn't sure what their Citrus score would have been right away. But the community actually swayed me and said, hey, Monty, you got to go talk to them and meet the team. And they're really legitimate. They have, really good intentions. They're here for the long run. And that actually stuck with me. And they're probably one of the core groups of, builders that I've had, some of the most communication with over the last year. That's really been great so far.
That's awesome, honestly. If you could have imagined when you first started your channel and Algorand started creating, there's apps starting to pop up on Algorand. If you could have imagined that, you would have been launching a token and it would have been going through Yieldly, I feel like people would have, you would have thought that wasn't the case when you first launched your channel.
Yeah, no, I was just, a guy in an office in my third room with a green screen in the background, just trying to give my take on the core reviews for Algorand. Yeah, and next thing you know, I'm on stage at Decipher. I'm hosting Twitter Spaces where
you have me on the channel.
We got Lauren.
Lauren. Yep.
Didn't expect Lauren. Didn't expect the team. we got like 7 or 8 core team members and 13 folks, spread, through contract work all over the U.S. working on, various items right now. It is, it's been an amazing growth factor, that's for sure.
Nice. Yeah, I kind of envisioned something similar along the ends for my channel. It's just so tough right now. I'm currently the only person that does this, and I do this, another job, and I'm also a realtor. So it's like it's a lot to do for yourself. So I am a little bit envious that you have a nice growing team, but I do think eventually, if with some commitment, I will get there.
You need to get yourself a Lauren.
I do. I need to find a Lauren. Do you have a twin or a sister?
I do have a sister, actually.
Well,
I'll call
so
her up and be like, hey, work with JT.
Perfect. That would be great. So, what else does Citrust offer? I was reading, it says that there will be Citrust Jams, which are a type of event. There will be, an NFT artist marketplace, DAOs, and is this a DAO as a service system? Is that what that stands for?
Yes.
Perfect. Awesome. I thought I was reading that right. I was like, DAS, that must be DAO as a service.
You're correct.
Yeah. Could you speak a little bit on all of those? What a Citrus Jam is, how the NFT marketplace will come to fruition, and what your intentions are with DAOs?
Well, Lauren, I think you can probably speak to the jams.
Yeah.
Perfect.
So,
I never know who to pose specific questions to. So
no, it's okay.
Yeah.
We're pretty good about, taking turns
Perfect.
with the questions. But so Citrus Jams are essentially going to be, I think we were planning on doing once a month, just little small networking events, specifically for, everyone's welcome, but specifically for the Algorand community. We're going to host them in downtown Dallas in a little office that we have. Anyone's welcome, like I said, but we will be featuring somebody that is in crypto every month, and we'll just kind of have like a little interview session with them. It'll be both in person, and then we will also stream it as well. But in person, obviously, we have a certain limit or certain amount of people that can actually show up to that. But I believe virtually, it can be. I don't think we have a limit on that, right, Monty?
No limit there. I think the first stream or first live event, I think we're capped at like 20 people or something along those lines. So we'll put it out first to, our Telegram group, see who's local here. And then we plan on, continuing these maybe once a quarter. And, who knows, we might have nerd events, all over.
Yeah, that'd be really interesting. I know you're based out of Texas, correct?
Yep, we're in Dallas.
So I'd imagine the first handful of live events would likely be closer to your area.
Absolutely, yes.
Yep.
So the first one specifically is in Dallas, and there's a good hub of folks here. Algorand is here, Headline is here, Algo family. Everybody knows Michael Jordan. He's here. There's a lot of folks based out of Texas that we have a growing community here locally.
Yeah, I met Algo fam at Decipher. He's
Mercury Labs is here too. I forgot
really?
about them. Yeah, Mercury Labs. So they've got a cool gaming platform.
Yeah.
Surprisingly, Texas and Dallas and Austin has a surprisingly great tech scene, and it's especially with the exodus coming from California, there's a lot of people moving into Texas. So I could see it being one of the next bigger hubs next to Florida.
We're gonna be one of the hot spots for sure.
Yeah. You had asked about some of the other features there, upcoming ideas, especially around DAOs.
Yeah.
So the Citrus system, and this is, if you look at the roadmap, this is Q4 stuff. So it's going to take us a good 8 months to get this up and running. And it's going to take probably a lot of prodding and a lot of poking to make sure that, there's consistent progress made there. The first really big hurdle is to hurry up and get the project review system up. Because now we've got the clock ticking. We've got nerd holders out there. And I don't know about you, but I work much better with accountability. And now I've got 500 wallets out there holding me accountable every single day, making me wake up at 6 a.m., freaking out just a little bit. Like, we got to deliver a project that is viable now. Here's your clickable product now. And so we want to deliver that sooner rather than later. But the DAOs are really interesting to me. And I'm like you, I'm in the real estate industry. So I'm really keen. The first DAO we want to push out is a real estate DAO. So we want to raise funds and figure out a way to have the community invest, and not just in a cool way like Lofty. Lofty does an excellent job. You can invest in, specific projects and house by house. And who knows, maybe the DAO will form and vote to say, hey, we want to invest more in Lofty. But there's also some other cool projects. There is city funds. There's there's a Rove. There's a lot of other cool like fractional home ownership, or the governance could just say, hey, you know what? We just want to buy, multi-unit properties, and to heck with you, Monty, and your ideas. I don't know. We'll see how the governance goes, and what we'll put in the initial constitution. That hasn't been formed yet, but I'm really keen to get it done. And then once we do it, we want to help manage other people's DAOs. So we want a plug and play system. So JT, you've got an audience. You've got a group of people. You want to form a DAO for, I don't know, maybe you want a jelly bean factory because you see there's a good exchange rate for lima beans, right? So you're just like, okay, this is the jelly bean DAO, and you want to launch that, but you're like, man, I really don't know how. Well, let us walk you through the steps.
We got you.
We've got you.
We got you, man.
Truth is, we're gonna make some mistakes along the way, and then you get to learn from our mistakes. So as we grow and learn, then we're gonna pass that knowledge on to you, so that your learning curve doesn't have to be as rough as ours.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's really great because there really isn't that much DAO infrastructure right now. I mean, I know a couple months ago, or maybe not even, time is very strange, but Kimball Musk was discussing the troubles he was experiencing with his big green DAO on Ethereum, and he was even considering moving back to just accepting donations in regular fiat money because the Ethereum gas fees were too much. And somebody reached out to him and was like, try Algorand, and he was like, send me information on DAO infrastructure. And all I saw people send in the comments was like, this is a DAO, but it's like, that wasn't links to like the actual infrastructure and how he could build a DAO. So there really isn't that much information out there yet. So I certainly welcome every bit of value that can be added to the DAO ecosystem on Algorand, because I think DAOs will be the next big thing, much like we had DeFi Summer last year. I think the social groups and community groups and DAOs will be one of blockchain's biggest features in the future.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's weird. A lot of the DAOs that are in existence now, some of them are not even really true DAOs. They're more of a hybrid. Yeah. I would say not even some of them. Most of them are operating that way. And so
they have the ambition to be a DAO, but it's
DAO in name only for right now.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, to be fair, that's kind of like his DAO is right now too. The big green DAO is sort of just a DAO in name only, but I do think it's really just because of a lack of DAO infrastructure and how expensive Ethereum is right now, to be honest. So let's see, where was I going with this? Let's see, attend a Citrust jam. Okay, the roadmap. How are you looking on the roadmap? Because I see on Q1 you've got the landing page, the white paper, the pre-sale, events, alpha, and then mainnet coming in Q2. How far along are you on the roadmap, and is it coming into fruition the way you hoped?
Well, we'll have a light paper out here probably next week for folks to kind of review. There's some general information up on the webpage right now. Landing page got some, I don't know, very, very, I don't know, window watcher type of material that's on there right now.
Yeah.
The actual product, I would say, is probably 90 days out from having something that's, you can beta test, something along those lines. I wish it was faster. I'm pushing to get faster. However, we're probably about 90 days out. And that's me trying to be, I don't know, I want to under promise so that we can over deliver. So I don't want to promise it's going to be out next week when I know it's, no way is it going to be. But we are making progress. And I will continue to push folks. And especially since we've launched a token. And so some people have asked, hey, why did you launch the token here? It was a whirlwind, kind of a roller coaster ride. We don't have a viable way to exchange the token. And really, I mean, the website, once it's up, you'll be able to earn the token, but exchanging it is a whole different matter. So we need to make sure that we've got a small marketplace set up initially so that you can exchange your nerd tokens for some exclusive NFTs, some merch material, and a small list of services there. And we're also looking to partner with folks. So if somebody is out there and they say, hey, you know what, that nerd audience, they're growing, maybe we should be, incorporated with that. How do we accept nerds and get that audience and get Monty over here to look at our project and say, hey, this looks like it, could be a good match. So we're looking for other ways for our wallet holders to, use that nerd token. And so anyway, I've got 500 people out there who are really depending on us to make sure that we bring a viable product to market sooner rather than later.
Yeah, I'm sure. I mean, I'm sure there's more than 500 to be honest. There might be 500 token holders, but I'd imagine
Yeah.
there's a lot more in the community that's waiting for some sort of hub that, they can go to get all of the relevant information. Well, maybe not all, because I always want to say, do your own research for sure. It could be, a great starting point. You learn about the project that inspires you to learn more about the project. But I do think a central hub that kind of aggregates all that data into one spot is a perfect need for this ecosystem.
Yeah, absolutely.
So let's see. What was I going to ask next? Sorry about that. Now, how is the onboarding process for new projects? Do they contact someone directly from the team? Will there be a tab they can just click on the website and just upload all the information themselves, and then you will review it, or somebody from the team will review it and approve it?
So
how does that work?
Initial launch is different than ongoing. So initial launch, you want to get at least 100 projects on there. We're going to be sending out invitations. Very similar, honestly, to how Algorand just did it. Algorand just sent out an invitation to a lot of the known projects. We're going to do something very similar.
Yeah.
Fill out a quick form, whatever links you want to provide, and that will be the initial database that we're going to use.
Get them set up. Yeah.
We've also reached out to Algo Curator because they have a similar sort of pooling of information, and they've got a lot of projects already kind of sorted there. So we've offered to let them plug into our review system if they are interested, so we can share some resources there. And they've got a nice list of projects, above and beyond what Algorand already has themselves, so we can reach out to them. Anyway, so that's initially. Ongoing, anybody can submit a project. So you submit a project. It's a button on the website. You click it, you submit it. It's not instantaneous. It does take us to make sure, like, okay, these links are valid. It does lead where they say they're going to lead, and then you should be good to go.
Now, could you foresee a point where you might need to automate that onboarding process? Because, I mean, maybe right now it wouldn't be too big of an issue, but I could foresee a day where there's 20, 30, 40 projects launching just in one day. And I feel like it'd be very hard to keep up with the influx of, applications, so to speak, to host their information on your page.
100%. Yes. I think we will trend that way. I know we will trend that way. But to be frank, initially, once we get something up and running, there's going to be a little bit of manual process behind the scenes just to make sure that we are up and running sooner rather than later. I'm a firm believer that we're gonna put it up, and it may not be exactly what the final product will be, but we want to get something viable up. And as long as we're upfront with the community that says, hey, this is V1, this is minimum viable product, so to speak, then the community will be engaged and say, okay, we got you. We're going to use it right now, and thanks for putting this much up and open to the public so that we can use it now.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know if any project is ever actually a final project. I mean, they a lot of people come to market as if it is the final stage, but you've seen with plenty of projects, they evolve over time, and they should. I mean, the space evolves, people evolve, people's needs and desires evolve. So if you're not evolving with the space, it's you're going to be left behind anyway. So it makes complete sense that V1 will just be what V1 is, and then as you decide more needs that need to be added, or the community decides more needs or services that they want, then of course you would add them for sure.
Right.
I want to let everybody know that's in the audience, if you have any questions, just throw them down in the chat and we will get to those honestly any minute. So yeah, if you have any questions, comments, or discussion topics that you want us to just speak of real quick, just drop those in the chat. We are all keeping an eye on those, and we'll get to them.
I see a lot of familiar names over there in the chat.
A lot of familiar names, a lot of people saying hello. Appreciate that, of course. Appreciate everyone that comes to watch. Now, is there anything that I haven't brought up yet that you would like to discuss with my audience and your audience?
I would like
to think of anything.
Yeah, I'd like to kind of bring up the fact that for those that follow the Crypto Nerd YouTube channel, we're actually going to be bringing something similar to Citrust. We are going to be doing algo news. Even how I do like the NFT creator feature. I think we might do something similar, either with NFTs or with just the projects themselves, or maybe even both. I think we're still kind of deciding, what we want to do with that. I think that'll be really fun, and it'll be a different style than Crypto Nerd. I kind of like to say, Crypto Nerd, we're more laid back. I guess a more informal style. Citrus will be a little bit more professionally done, like in studio. We'll have like the lights, and it'll be more awesome.
It'll be more awesome. I think it's important to separate the Crypto Nerd, what I do, from Citrus the business.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so Citrus, the business, will look and appear more like a business, quite frankly, because it is.
Yeah.
Right.
And so I will still do some of these informal videos and pop on,
Yeah.
personally. But when we're representing Citrus, I think maybe we want to have a slightly different look.
Yeah.
And
Crypto
I
nerd
think,
won't go away. It'll always be here. It'll
right,
still be. Yeah.
Good.
should be
I
good.
think the community would be sad if Crypto Nerd disappeared.
Yeah, no, we're
Yes.
still around. Launch pads. We didn't talk about launch pads at all.
You're right. You're right.
So that's way far down the line, and this project has taught me that having a viable launch pad is so crucial. There's a few out there that are aiming to be, launchpad services. I think Yieldly eventually might have a launchpad service. Algo Fund has a kind of a project for launch padding. I think even Headline said that it was kind of on their back burner, and that's just off the top of my head. But none of those are viable right now.
Yep.
It is incredibly difficult to to navigate everything. In fact, we documented a bunch of it. We'll do a release of information for folks who are interested in what our journey was like. There were definitely some trials and tribulations and some triumphs as we went through to try and get something pushed out. And it's weird because there's this dynamic, JT. Like it's easy to make an ASA. Anybody can do it. You get a whole bunch of like just BS ASAs. There's like 3 or 4 fake nerd coins out there right now at this very moment. They don't have the check mark or the shield, but they're out there. So it's incredibly easy to push it out. It is much harder to do it right, and put some effort into it and some thought behind it. And so we want to help folks again, improve on what we've done and learn from our mistakes. So we will help some folks. I think we're going to partner with some folks. You'll see in the coming months on releasing information on how to run a launch, and we'll offer some services to help you do that and help manage that process. But there's some incredibly smart people out there. Headline's got a lot of tools. Swapper, Silvantino, he's got some really cool tools that are coming out. We gave him a lot of feedback through our launch. On how to do distributions and things like that, and smart contracts. We've got a lot of folks who are working on this from many different angles, and so we want to be a part of that. And I am lucky, you're lucky, because we get to see a lot of projects before they're official. We get to interact with the community, or people reach out to us and they say, hey, how do we do this? How do we do that? And so we get to see a lot of these folks before they have really kind of taken that step, and we could say, hey, let us help you. Here's our mistakes. Here's what we can do to help you. Get some visibility out to the market. And if people are already visiting Citrus on a daily basis because they want to see what new projects there are, what ratings happen, what the news is, Lauren's got an update for us, then the audience is going to come there daily and kind of check in. And it's a good spot to get some exposure for your new project and get some feedback. Not just for like free PR, but if you want legitimate feedback from the community, I have learned nothing, if nothing else over the last week, I have learned that the Algorand community will give you good feedback, and they will definitely give you bad feedback if you deserve it. Yeah. And so you got to take that and integrate it and say, okay, here's what I learned from that. I got to peel away some of the emotions and just say, okay, how can I get better? And I think projects need that, because a lot of them kind of build in a silo and then they release and wonder like, well, how come nobody likes it? Well, because you didn't get all the feedback you needed along the way.
Yep. Yep. You had a closed test net. You didn't source any community feedback for sure. It's as it says right in the title, it's a centralized hub for a decentralized community, and I really do think that's a great phrase, because it is kind of exactly what we need. And to add on to your launchpad discussion, I've spoken to many people building in the space, developers, CEOs, and whatnot, and nearly all of them say that they've been waiting for a launchpad to launch their token. I know specifically Algorand has been hoping to launch their token through a launchpad, but they, last time I spoke to them, or last time I spoke to Michael, he said that he might not wait any longer to launch their token because, they've been waiting quite a while for a viable launchpad. They might have to find a different route. And I know their token launch comes up next month. I'm unsure the route that they're taking. I wonder if they did find a launchpad that I'm unaware of, or if they're taking a different route. But I do know it's certainly a huge need in this community. I mean, we see a lot of launches happen on smaller projects that really don't go so great. And then you have a lot of the community that's really upset by it. And it leaves a bad taste in people's mouth. You can have a perfectly great project, but if it has a very poor launch, that's the first impression you gave to people, and your perfectly great project might not be successful because of that one bad first impression.
Yeah, 100%.
I mean, plus the legality factor that you had mentioned. I mean, I do think a lot of these launchpads will have some sort of KYC and AML rules that are baked into it, just so people are aware that they're staying in compliance. But I know those words are also a little scary to some people in this community that don't like KYC or AML laws. But it is a necessary
it's a necessity.
evil.
Yeah,
It's a necessary evil, I think, for the space to gain the respect it needs in the broader institutional market for sure. I don't see too many questions here in the comments, so I will, leave the last portion of the show up to the two of you. If there's anything, Monty or Lauren, that you want to add to this discussion, this is certainly the time to do it.
Looking through the comments here, I just want to say hi, Padre Algo, Ryan McDonald. Thanks for joining. Nick asked a question. He said, "How do we accept nerds?" Gosh, I mean, really, the nerd is just an ASA. So if anybody out there, they don't even need to ask permission, right? They could just adopt it. They don't have to tell us. But it's probably a much better situation if you reach out and say, "Hey, we want to plug this in. What can we do to work with your community and our community, make sure it's a good match?" But I mean, really, it's just like many things on the Algorand ecosystem. It's open to anybody. You don't have to ask permission. You could just do it.
Yep. I mean, that's the thing. I mean, there's a lot of debate going on right now with the Algo name service, as we mentioned earlier. And I've seen some people comment that they think like the foundation should maybe clear some of this up or whatever. But it's a permissionless blockchain. I mean, for better or for worse, there are going to be copycat projects that launch, and it'll be up to the market to decide which one that they want to put their money behind or invest their time with.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
It could be confusing. I could see that in the future. We'll see what happens with that naming service. I know Rand is the only big name I saw that took the faster to market service, and so everybody else seems to be holding off for the larger project, I think, to hit. I think we actually got Citrust.algo on this service just in case, so there's no confusion. I don't even know when we would need to use that wallet, but I figured, well, we better claim it, while we still can.
Yeah.
So we have it just in case.
Yeah, just in case. I mean, even if you don't use it, I was considering grabbing one too from ANS, but I'm a little biased, and since I've spoken to the people at NFDs and have a little bit more of a communication with them, I am definitely a little bit biased on that end of it. But I could definitely foresee a reason to purchase it on both, especially, I mean, even if I don't use it, you never know. Somebody could just be like, create a copycat page of my Twitter and then say, hey, donate algo or send algo to jtinvest.algo or whatever, you know what I mean? And it's not actually mine. So, more so for security reasons and just making sure people aren't getting scammed by something that looks like my name, I've been considering grabbing it.
Right. Just to protect the community. I was not fast enough, by the way. Somebody grabbed cryptonerd.algo. No. I don't know who has that, but I couldn't get it fast enough. So look out for that.
Yeah.
Maybe I just dug myself a hole by mentioning that I might want to grab my name.
Oh yeah, you better go grab it now if you haven't yet.
Get it now.
You better go do it.
Oh no.
just in case.
I did reserve it with NFDs, but I didn't give it any thought with ANS, to be honest. I probably should have.
Yeah, we have everything reserved with NFTs as well. So we'll be waiting, with bated breath for their product to launch. And you're right, John Patrick have been great. They're engaged with the community. A much more robust program, I think. And I know. So we're looking forward to that launch for them.
Yeah, I don't want to put too many opinions on it just because I really don't know enough about ANS. It could be a great service. I haven't spoken to the team, really haven't done enough reading on them. So I don't want to say that it won't be a comparable project, but just from my own biases, I certainly am leaning with the NFT direction for sure. But even aside from that, I mean, that was just one specific example, but any project, it's a permissionless blockchain. So, I mean, it's one of those things where, to answer that person's question, anyone can accept nerd token. Anyone can accept any token they want to, really, if they want to integrate, if you want to create your own token, you can integrate that into your project. There really are no rules in this blockchain space at this point.
Yeah. Should be easy.
Well, that being said, the Citrust platform, a centralized hub for a decentralized community, and I really appreciate you both coming on the show. I'm very, very much so excited for Citrust. I think it'll be exactly what this community needs. This community really needs a hub that aggregates information. There are so many siloed bits of information on the internet. You have me, you have yourself. We've got David at Crypto for Change, C. Will for Passive Income Network, and the list goes on and on and on. But everyone has to, on their own, go and find those different pages and aggregate that information themselves. So I really do think that some sort of hub that aggregates all of the relevant information that can be found, which is nearly impossible because this space is growing at such a rapid race that I think that, yeah, it's probably an impossible job to get all of the information, but that's also part of the reason why having a centralized hub to organize and aggregate at least a majority of that information would make everyone's life completely easier. So I wish you both a lot of luck with the project, and I appreciate you all coming on the show.
Thanks,
JT.
Yeah, thanks for having us.
Of course, not a problem. Hopefully I'll have you guys back on the show sometime soon.
Yeah,
love to.
For sure.
Awesome. And sit tight just for 1 minute. All right. Thanks for everyone for joining the show. We are going to log out a little bit real quick, but everyone that stayed to the end, I appreciate it. Smash the thumbs up button. Consider subscribing. That was my conversation with the real Monty Allen and Lauren Wixom. Citrust is an amazing idea, amazing concept. I'm really excited to see how it plays out in the future. If you're just tuning in now, this will be posted on demand in about 2 to 3 minutes, so you can rewatch it from the beginning. That being said, yeah, like, subscribe, and catch me in the next one. Thanks.